took a look at this and I want to share a couple of the things so far, just in a rambling, ongoing fashion. This was what this had kind of shaped up to, more or less, at the end. The garage needed adjusted substantially. So this would be the foundation. The garage foundation presumably exists already, and I don't know what happens across here. For now, though, I'm going to show that. So there's the upstairs. So probably that is just going to be divided in half. That space down there is going to be divided in half with an LVL beam, either a flush LVL beam or one that's down underneath the 10-inch joists. And I looked at these code book, and with the Southern Pine, which is probably what you're going to be able to get down there, these are your spans. And this has got to be clear span, 16.1 and 14.0. And this is and that's for the living area, and then for the bedroom areas, it's a little more tall. Surprised they said you could stretch an 2x10 18 feet in a bedroom. But coming back down here, for one thing, I'm going to adjust some of these dimensions so that these are coursing dimensions, some division of 8 besides the ones that exist already. Also, I don't know if this is going to be actual stone fireplace, a big masonry type thing, or if that's going to be veneer stone or plaster or what. But if it's going to be something heavy, I would have a foundation down here for that as well. But evening this out, then I pushed that wall 5 or 6 inches north to make this an even coursing, or 5 or 6 inches west to make this a coursing dimension. And I did the same thing at the top, and I used some of that space to make this hallway a little bit wider here. And then at the top, I also, this here, either it was going to move this wall back 5/8 of an inch or move it forward 7 inches or so, 7 3/8. And I moved it forward. Well, first of all, I put your garage like what you said, but then I moved that forward, that's 7 inches. And what I really used that for, although you would have an opportunity to move this wall back and make these two closets bigger as well, but what I used it for down here was to bring this toilet forward, bring that door forward some, and bring this toilet forward some, and so that you can have a cabinet, a 12-inch deep cabinet over that toilet at least, to get some linen storage in that bath. Now, if you're 4 steps down to the garage, and I think that's probably the best we're going to be able to do reasonably, and this laundry room door comes in right here, that's your dimension in front of those stairs. That's 4 stairs down and 4 stairs down here. Now there's a whole too long discussion about these 10-inch floor joists and how I arrived at that as the member that we're going to be using for the floor system. So besides those tables in the code books, I use this program to size various structural members. And I used them to size these and double check what was happening and what we're going to be able to get away with and work with for these spans. Back on that, when we were finished, and we raised it up another 8 inches, so we were 4 steps down to the garage, and hopefully a step down to this porch, and then 4 to this driveway down here. That gave us about maybe 10 inches under this 12-inch LVL beam. But you could have this LVL beam set level with the tops of these joists. You wouldn't have any opportunity to pass things through it, ductwork and whatnot, but it would give you then, you'd be raising it up another 10 inches. So that would give you almost 20 inches, presumably, between the bottom of that beam and the top of the slab. You'd have all these joist hangers through here, but it is a nice rigid construction. Furthermore, we might actually be forced to raise that up and have it be a flush beam and buy those hangers, because the code probably requires that there be 18 inches below structural members. Now, if we could use treated lumber instead of LVLs, but that means we're going to have a few more footing pads along here, but that's no big deal. That can work as well. The treated lumber can be down within, doesn't have to be 18 inches off the floor of the crawl space. So that's something to think about. But back on this, and then if we do this loading for the main room, the living area, at 40 pounds per square foot, and this doesn't really apply unless you're going to use one of these I-joist type things. But if we're just using commodity lumber, and I mean, you're going to be able to get these for sure, and we're hoping 9 1/4 will do it. 16 inches is the spacing, just so that the floor sheeting is good at 3/4 of an inch. And you can see it doesn't give us anything but what the code book gave us, which was southern pine, the best southern pine, or spruce pine fir number 1, number 2. And if you were interested in using one of these floor joist systems and a 9 1/2 inch floor joist system, which is close to the 9 1/4 we're working with, to still get you 4 steps to the garage. And these tend to be like, if I put these both on together, the 9 1/4 spruce pine fir or southern pine number 1, these cost is 1.21 and 1.4, and you can see that 9 1/2 inch TJI 110s are almost half of the cost index, and you would have to price these to see if that follows through. And this one's even lower still. Well, if you want, we don't have another couple inches to work with, so we have to work with these. This one, and here's just a quick word about this TJ Pro rating. That is a measure of floor performance that they can reflect if you use these types of products. And so you saw these 110s, you saw these 110s had a TJ Pro rating of 44, which is about right in this middle, and I usually use that. I usually use 40 as my minimum. 84% of the people, when it's 45%, find it good to excellent. So that's the comparison there, and you may be able to, if your builder or you is willing to use I-joists, it's probably actually a little bit more green too. And if you look at these numbers, you'll see how they are very similar. This is the TJI numbers with the deflection at 226, and if we go to this SPF number 1 or 2, deflects a little bit more than does this, minorly, but this is at least as rigid as that. Southern pine number 1, and you would have to confirm you can get number 1, is very similar in terms of deflection, 239 and 226. So that is a comparison of those floor joists. Now, I'm just talking about random things quickly here. With these windows out front, this is how I was originally showing them, but this is not going to work. This is the wall bracing method that is easiest to use, and it's called continuous sheathing wood structural panel, and it just means you have to use 1/2 inch, well, 7/16 technically, but I always just say 1/2 inch OSB, and that has to be over the entire outside of the house. And at certain locations, like at this front wall where there's braced wall panels, those have to be nailed tighter together, 6 inches on the edge and 8 inches in the field, or something like this. But that is the wall bracing method, and if we hold our adjacent window heights to less than 6 foot, then 27 inches is the minimum wall bracing. We need to have at least a panel across here. For one thing, we need to have 34 inches of bracing of a panel, 34 inches worth of panel, and 27 inches is the minimum width of any of those panels. So we have to adjust these windows. I know that you had said 2 groups of 2, and we'll run through this right now. But if we adjust these like this, now these windows were 32 inches wide apiece. Adjust them like this with that minimum 2'3" on each side. Then there's a space between them, and you could either have just a 2x4 or 2 2x4s between here, and so that you would have some casing type bric-a-brac on the inside and outside, or you could just make them all around 35 inches wide and make it one big unit like this, and you would still have your minimum 27 inches on the side. So that's something to think about that end there. And then this was a group of 2 with space between them. These ones here were 435s. These go down to 430s, and you could probably get by with 432s, although that'd be a pretty skinny kind of pillar in the middle. But that's that. And then from out here, this is looking at those various windows, just at that group there. Just ignore the colors and all that. I was just trying to put something together here. But these are just looking at these windows here. And once I saw what you're going to be looking at out there, I wanted to get as much glass as possible. So I actually favor that if I was doing the choosing, which I'm not. But I kind of favor that, even because when you start putting this space in the bric-a-brac, then it's going to ask for something similar over here, which is fine if you want to. But I actually like this facade here with the 4 windows, 3 windows, 2 windows, and a single window. I just like how that feels. And that was floor joists to living area. And then we made a copy of those. We made that 30 pounds per square foot. And we get similar solutions. None are really added for the reduction of that. But you could probably, space these out. So yeah, we have a few inches to play with in terms of length. We were at 13.8. So I went to 14 and that passed with all the different products. 14.4 passes at this 30 pounds per square foot loading. And even if I change that to 40, and even 40 pounds per square foot passes at 14'4" clear span. 14'8" we start getting a little flexible. It passes except for this TJI rating, and the 2 9¼ also pass. So somewhere up around 14.6 or so would be our limit with this 10-inch floor system. And right now, we're fine. If we don't change anything with that, we're fine, and that will be rigid through. Now, I don't know if there is, that's a pretty big span, so I don't think there's going to be a 10-inch one to do an 18-foot span. Nope, I don't see any. Yeah, we are not going to be able to span that with a 10-inch piece of anything, save LVL, so we'll have to have a beam across here. Now, I did this roof and ceiling like this, where this ceiling just flows in from the soffit with just J-channel trim right here. But first of all, notice I do have you stepping down 6 inches to this, and then these are about 7 inches a piece, the 4 down to the driveway, in order to get you down to the driveway in that number. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. But I originally did this, and this is the program builds these trusses, so I don't know how your truss manufacturer would do it. But maybe that piece continues on like this, and then I just had a beam hidden up above that ceiling going over to that post, and that might be enough to carry that out there. Otherwise, possibly the truss is built like this, and then there is a beam let into that wall and going over that column at the corner. So that is all for now. I just have started on some of that stuff, and that was what had come up working through a few of the details, and there will be some more to talk about at some point soonly. So Any feedback you like, I'll welcome it.